So if you've got chronic back pain, you've probably tried, like massage and acupuncture and chiropractic and a lot of things like that. And often it is the case that those help briefly. Certainly it was the case with me. They help briefly, but the pain keeps coming back, and the tension that in many cases is causing the pain keeps coming back. And why is that? Well, that cycle of treatment and then relief and then the return of the pain is basically often a symptom that the pain is coming from tension, and that's something that the source of that tension isn't really being treated by those treatments. So what is the source of that tension? Well, it turns out that tension in your muscles, like for example the muscles in your back and your neck and your shoulders, that tension is more often than not created in the brain. And so you're treating the muscles, but you're not treating the source of the tension, which is the brain. And that tension is being created unconsciously. So what can you do about that? So my name's Ben O'Loughlin. I teach something called the Alexander Technique. I'm a registered teacher with AUSTAT, the Australian Peak Body. And Alexander Technique is a way to actually take control of, the brain activity that is creating the tension, rather than just managing the tension downstream. So it's a way to actually exercise conscious control over patterns of tension in your body. So in Alexander Technique, we're targeting patterns of unnecessary tension that we are habitually holding in our body. Now that word unnecessary is important because we need some tension to survive. We need tension in our heart, every time it beats. We need tension in our postural muscles to hold us off the floor. And what we probably don't need though is quite so much tension in our jaw, in our neck, in our lower back, but this tension kind of just creeps in over time and becomes a habit that's actually below the threshold of awareness. So we don't even know we're doing it. We only really notice it when it shows up as pain. And that pain can be from, the aching of tense muscles. It can be from inflammation. It can be from, irritation in the tissues. It can cause, it can show up as bad posture, which puts load on the wrong parts of the body. And we're trying to change these patterns of tension. We can try and change them directly with, the massage, the chiropractic, the dry needling, all that stuff. But the problem is, as I mentioned before, those signals are coming from the brain usually. So it's kind of like, wiping the water off the floor, but not actually fixing the hole in the roof. You've got to fix the hole in the roof to stop that water from accumulating again. Otherwise, you're on this sort of treatment treadmill. And so in Alexander Technique, what we teach people to do is notice those patterns of tension and see if we can lower the level of activity in our muscles and make that the new normal. So rather than having the tendency be for tension to accumulate over time, we want to actually turn that around so that each day you are less tense than the previous day in ways that are helpful to you and reducing pain. If what I've described here sounds like your pattern, like pain that varies in ways that aren't purely physical, but are also related to emotional and work cognitive load, and your temporary relief doesn't last, you can get treatments, but they don't, the pain keeps coming back, then there's a short self-check that we offer in the description below. It's 12 questions, about 90 seconds. It'll tell you whether a tension pattern is likely a factor in your pain and whether a learning-based approach is worth exploring. Link is in the description.